Today is September 13th, 2025, and it has been a month and a week since my sister Gloria passed away. And she was somebody who was so special and had such a huge impact on my life that I am reeling from this, and there are really no words to put when you're so close to somebody. They're like a part of you. You share a soul. You're more than just family. This has been the most difficult thing that I've ever gone through, and I do feel that I am going through post-traumatic stress and trying to keep it together to raise her children. She has two sons, a 10-year-old with autism and a 4-year-old. And so I want to be able to give them a normal life and then also still be fun Auntie Steenie. And so the challenge is finding the balance to help them grieve, for me to grieve, and for all of us to find our new normal as we navigate such a tremendous loss. I just want to tell her story. So things are going to be a lot different. I think I'm going to integrate William and Hudson into our lives and find ways for them to, be happy with their things that they do. William loves YouTubing. Hudson is just like a little smarty pants who knows all his planets and reads, and he's just so smart. I just want to find that balance, and still give them a little part of the things that I do and the quirks that they have. So yeah, I'll pick up with this in just a minute. So I'm just picking up where I left off yesterday. I really want to be able to preserve what Gloria started. There were a lot of different initiatives and, dreams that she had. She had property. She had, just a commercial building that her and William wanted to turn into something. And, I think that's a part of her story and her legacy. And so, I really want to go on living and live my life, but at the same time integrate like her dreams. She had this beautiful presentation of something called Rebuild Her, which was a program for women who have experienced trauma in their lives, which she did with the fire that she went through. She had painstakingly restored this historical house in Indian Village, and it was burned to the ground. So she went through that. She went through a terrible breakup. She experienced all sorts of domestic unrest. She experienced homelessness and was living in a women's shelter for veterans for a little bit. And so, life wasn't easy, and she clawed and fought to get back into, her house. And as you can hear behind me, her little ones are just downstairs. I'm just taking a beat to tell her story and to talk about what happened. So on Thursday, August 7th, I called her after work. I had a late work meeting, and it like wrapped up around 6 o'clock. And so then I picked up the phone and called her to tell her that Araminta learned how to climb out of the play yard. And she was just like, yeah, I didn't go to work today. I took the day off, and I didn't take Hudson to daycare because I'm just not feeling well. And earlier that week, that Monday, she was just like, oh, I'm just so tired. And she's like, I think it's the GERD. I think it's this, and all of these different little ailments that she had been kind of complaining of. And she's like, well, on Friday, or I think it was either Friday or Monday, she was going to go see a doctor. She had made an appointment. And so around 6 o'clock, I called her. We had a normal conversation, which we do our 2-hour-long phone calls every day if we're not with each other or FaceTiming or, you know, doing Facebook Messenger calls, our Zoom calls for our quarterly sister meetings. We were with each other taking the kids somewhere fun. And so we just talked about any and everything under the sun. We talked about work. We talked about, you know, plans for the weekend. She talked about how she wanted to get a new type of foundation. And I was like, oh, we should try Clinique. I know it's for old ladies, but now, you know, I'm 39, she's 43. I'm like, it's time for us to get into the older lady stuff with no fragrance. And we were just joking, and she was talking about a guy she met on a dating app, and she's just like, I don't know. It was a nice conversation, but I'm not sure. And she was excited. She had told me about this AI chatbot boyfriend that she built named Haas. And so we were just having a normal conversation. And then there was a minute there where she's just like, oh, William and Hudson are just doing the most. And they're running around and screaming like they are right now. And she was just like, I wish they would just be nice when I don't feel well. And I'm like, do you want me to come get them? And she was just like, no, I'm going to go on Monday to go see a doctor. And I'm just like, well, just let me know. And so we carried on that conversation. I go downstairs, check on Mama. She fusses at Mama over the phone when, you know, I go down to change Mama, make sure she has everything she needs. Araminta and I were all like, it was just a beautiful, normal call. And I was like, okay, love you. I always do this thing when we end our phone calls, or either mer. And then it was like 2 hours later, we were on the phone for 2 hours. 2 hours later, I get a text message that says, come get William and Hud. Will and Hud. They didn't even say William and Hudson, which she never calls them Will and Hud. And it was no punctuation. I was like, come get Will and Hud. I fainted. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it didn't feel right. There have been times when she's just like, come. And then I'm just like, okay, everything's going to work out. I didn't feel right about this. I felt like immediately nervous. And I'm even feeling nervous now. Like the feelings are welling up as I retell this. But I went downstairs and told Mama. The baby was asleep at this point. Told my mom I'm going to go out. Something's not right with Gloria. And I kept calling her back, and she wouldn't answer. And normally she would at least be like, oh, I'm not feeling well. Can you come get the boys? So no answer. I get dressed. I go get the baby up, put her in the stroller. And then it took me a little bit longer because my stomach was so nervous. I actually stopped into the bathroom. And then I went out. And it took me about 15 minutes to leave. And it's about a 15 to 20 minute drive to her house. So I'm driving, and, you know, I try to call back. And so I call back, and William answers. And he's just like, Mommy fainted, and the first responders are here. Are you on the way? And I'm like, yes, I'm on the way. So I'm driving down Gratiot, and then I turn down on her street, and I could see the sirens. I could see the lights and sirens, and I could kind of hear them from all the way down. It was the ambulance. And so I'm rushing, I'm running red lights. I'm just like, you know, really, really nervous at that point. And I could kind of hear Gloria in the background because I still have William on the speakerphone. So I could kind of hear Gloria in the background moaning and just like you could tell she wasn't feeling well. And I'm just like, William, can you put an adult on the line? Like, what's happening to, you know, your mom? And it's just like, oh, she fainted and she threw up. And William, with the autism, he kind of like repeats, and he's just like, oh, Mommy's not feeling well. Is mommy gonna die? Is Mommy gonna die? And I'm just like, William, can you put an adult on the phone? The paramedic is on the phone, and he's kind of dismissive and just like, are you around the corner? Because if you're not around the corner, we gotta go. And I'm like, is she okay? And we're just like, we can't divulge that information over the phone. And who are you to her? So I'm just like nervous, driving. And then by the time I get to her house, the ambulance is taking off. I couldn't even get William and Hudson. So they're taking off, and I'm hearing all of these different sounds. And then I start hearing Gloria say, I'm dying. I'm dying. And so I'm just like, oh my God. And my heart is in my chest at this point. My heart is in my throat at this point, really. It's like beating out of my chest. And so I'm trying to chase the ambulance, and I lose the ambulance. See a police officer actually as I'm like going down Jefferson. And, you know, I kind of, it's like, hey, how do I get to, where would somebody take? And they were just like, I was still with William on speakerphone. And I'm hearing Gloria, like, and at a certain point, I stopped hearing Gloria. And then I hear William say, did she die? Did she die? And I'm just like, okay, William, she's fine. She's fine. Everything's going to be okay. And I try to wave down this police officer. I'm like, where would you take somebody if they're, you know, in an ambulance? And it's like, they were like Detroit receiving. So I pull over, put receiving into the GPS, and then I go. So I get to receiving, and, you know, it's just really, like, William and Hudson are really excited, and but I'm just like super nervous. The baby is with me, you know, I had nobody there with her and me, and I'm just super nervous because I just know something is not right. And I'm praying that she'll be okay. And then they take us into a room, and they're just like, oh, what's your relation to her? And they tell me she didn't make it. And I just feel like the color dropped from my face. And William and Hudson were in the room, but they just like, is she okay? And I'm just like, no, we're not going to have this conversation out here. And Araminta started screaming and crying, and it was just chaos. And so I'd walk around with the doctor, and he's just like telling me everything that happened. They couldn't get her heart started. They believe she had a heart attack. It might be a pulmonary embolism, but they don't know. And I'm just like, this can't be real. So I call somebody to be there with me. And, you know, I know my cousin Denisha is nearby, and so I call her. And she got there within like 7 minutes. And then I called my friend Laura, because Laura is the godparent of Araminta, and I knew they weren't far from me, but at the same time, Araminta does not respond well to just anybody being with her, and so I know Laura would be a calming presence. And so I'm calling, and I'm trying to get a hold of Kevin. He's not answering, and I'm just like trying to also process this. So at least at a certain point, Denisha and Laura are there, and Denisha's husband sits with the boys. Well, I'm just like, I can't tell them to, you know, this is too much. So yeah, and it just, I relive that moment every single day. And I also have to drive down Gratiot to take William to school, and it's like, I relive it every time. And I try to, it's just like, I wish in Michigan there was a way to avoid Gratiot altogether, but it's a major thoroughfare for like through multiple cities. And it just like that feeling in the pit of my stomach that even now is there. I have it when I'm on that street, and it's just, you know, traumatic and triggering. And this was the worst night of my life. And I went and saw her, and she just looked like she was sleeping peacefully. And this was horrible. And all the little kitties were there. And so I called my little sister to tell her. She lives in New York, and I couldn't tell her that night. I couldn't break her little heart. And she was also, she's teaching in New York. And she's just like, I'm getting ready for my students to have their final exams. And so I'm like, no, I can't. So that's what happened. And the medical examiner's office will have the official cause of death at some point over the next couple of weeks. It's like a 3-month process. They already did the autopsy, and you just find out. So, but that is what happened, and now it's a month later, and what I'm gonna raise the boys, and I know that their dad's side of the family, he's in prison for burning down the house. Dad's side of the family said they would step up and be in Gloria in the boys' lives. Gloria and them kind of had a rocky sort of, and I was kind of the intermediary trying to send grandmother pictures and things, and Gloria was also like, I don't want them to know anything, and just kind of like holding them at a distance. And so, but they all live out of state, so I'm the only relative here in Michigan for them, other than like cousins and things who have been pretty supportive, but it's just me as far as their care here. So this is gonna be our lives, and I also want to show what this journey is gonna be like, because I am sad. I am extremely sad and depressed, and I'm also, I don't think I can do this, but I also need to record this as a means by which I film and tell the story, to keep myself accountable, to keep myself going, because I do feel like this feels insurmountable, and it is a test of my faith. I was already just a mostly spiritual person, but I prayed so hard that night, and my prayers were not answered. And so I feel like there's a lot of doubt, but I also don't want this to be the point in my story where I gave up and I just went down this horrible path of sadness and self-destruction. You know, I want to be able to continue to rise above this challenge. We already went through losing Dada, losing Squeak just last year. He went to the same hospital. I went through the same thing with the medical examiner's office, having to look at his body. He was only 36. But Gloria was there with me. Gloria was there with me for 40 years, you know, at my side, whatever I needed, like from refrigerators to my car got a boot on it, or my, you know, needed a bill paid or needed some help, because she was Miss Financial Budget Analyst and knew all of the ways to keep yourself, you know, financially above board. And she was just the best big sister ever. And so William and Hudson are a lot of work. And I also have my own baby and my own challenges in my relationship with her dad. And I'm also taking care of Mama, who has dementia and is bedbound and, you know, is not self-sufficient. She can't really do anything for herself because she's just in the bed. She has her mind and she can still feed herself, but I have to do everything else. I have to change her. She's incontinent. And I filmed a day in the life, actually, the last week Gloria was alive, and I told her about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna send this to you. And that night I was editing it when I got the text message that said, come get Will and Hud, which actually was sent by William. So William sent that text message, and he called the police to come get her, called 911. And so Gloria never actually touched the phone again after she got sick. And, you know, then William and Hudson tell the story of her, you know, sitting there and then all of a sudden doing one of these numbers, grabbing her chest and fainting, and then waking up and throwing up. And then the first responders got her, and she passed away in the ambulance. She didn't ever regain consciousness. So I know I was doing a lot of content on this channel that focuses on language learning, traveling, and, you know, historical cosplay. But I think the story of resilience and survival and how we're all doing, and just being strong will be more of what we see together. I think I still want to make sure that William and Hudson are a part of the cosplay and the history and the language and the learning, because that's a part of who me and Araminta are. And but that's the story, and I think there's going to be a whole different change in direction of where things go from here. But that is the story of how I lost the most important person to me. And now I'm the caretaker for, it was me and Mama and Araminta, and having to, it's like, oh, my life is so hard. I got to take care of my mom and my baby. But now I have to take care of them. And the challenges that we're going to face, I wake up every day and I'm just like, this is a nightmare. But I feel like I want to use this vlog as an accountability to turn that narrative around and not just be this dark cloud who shows up everywhere and, oh, here come Ernestine, you know, what happened? We all know what happened. And here she come with all that sadness. And I am giving myself grace in grief counseling. I can't get the boys in grief counseling yet because I need to have custody, or not custody, it's guardianship, and that is a long drawn out process. So we'll get there. We're reading books on grief and trying to heal and trying to be there for them to express how they feel. But it's also a challenge. They, you know, a kid with special needs and then a 4-year-old is already, 4-year-olds are just stubborn, headstrong. They don't listen. And I want to be fun Aunt Steenie, not the person who's fussing at them, but I'm adjusting. You know, my kid is a baby, and it's also different when it's your kid. So that's all going to be a part of the challenge. And I want to take better care of me and take care of them. And this will be the way I check in and stay focused and sane and remember to keep living. Our job when we lose someone is to honor the living by keep living life. I cannot just roll over and be depressed as much as I want to. I have to keep going for them. I have so many reasons to live. There's so many people who depend on me. So I have to keep going for Mama. I have to keep going for Araminta. I have to keep going for William and Hudson. And I've been lucky to have a period of bereavement from my work. And Hudson's going to start school. So they're already, 2 of them, William is in school already, and then Araminta is in daycare. But we'll see how all of this goes. Like, how will I balance all of it financially? I don't know. How am I going to, as one person, take care of 4 people? I'm already tired. I want to make sure that I keep working out, keep eating healthy, don't become an alcoholic, and to take care of my mental health, and to keep myself up still. I'm wearing Gloria's shirt, and I've been wearing all of these cute things that she's got, all this beautiful stylish stuff. But I don't want to look how I feel inside, which is, it's a place of turmoil. But yes, that's our challenge. We keep living for those who don't get to keep on living. She didn't get to wake up on August 8th. And so we will honor her by living. And that is the vlog. I've been a work in progress for about a year. Everything is a mess back here. Everything is a mess downstairs. But I love my nephews, and I'm going to do the best I can for them. I love my mom. I love my baby. And only way up is up. Araminta keeps doing this thing, up. Only up from here. And pressure makes diamonds. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening. And we'll keep going.